right, New Jersey. Welcome to DC. Welcome. I know you all left early this morning, but you got food in you and you're ready to go. I can feel the energy. So it is truly inspiring to see advocates from New Jersey coming together and making sure that your voices are heard. My name is Mike Koprowski. I'm the National Campaign Director of Opportunity Starts at Home. This is a new campaign that originated with the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, along with its partners. My boss, Diane Yantel, came and spoke to you all last year, and she couldn't be here today, but she sends her regards. So Opportunity Starts at Home is one of the themes of today's congressional reception. It's a nationwide campaign that we launched earlier this year, and advocates in New Jersey are going to be a really critical part of this movement because you all understand that opportunity in this country starts with a safe, decent, affordable home. That's why you drove all this way to DC. It's why you're here today. And in fact, the national campaign is providing some grant funding to the Housing and Community Development Network of New Jersey, which is great, yep. And they were, of course, instrumental in planning this reception. So this campaign, I'll put it simply, it's about making affordable housing a national level priority once and for all. You might remember, you probably would remember, back in 2016, your former governor, Chris Christie, was running for president, and he was asked why housing wasn't being discussed in the presidential campaign. And he said, quote, "It's not the sexiest issue in the world." And this is a common sentiment around Washington, quite frankly, and I don't know what a sexy issue is, but here's what I can tell you, that we are smack in the middle of a full-fledged housing affordability crisis of historic heights. Half of all renters in this country cannot afford their rent, and of course it's hitting the poorest households the hardest. 3/4 of the lowest income renters are paying more than half of their income on rent every month. The paycheck is already too small, half of it goes toward rent, and there's very little left over for all the other necessities that you need in life. Since 1960, renters' incomes have gone up by 5%. Rents have gone up by 61%. This isn't a San Francisco problem or a New York City problem. It's not a matter of just moving somewhere that's cheaper. It is bad pretty much everywhere. If you are a minimum wage worker and you're trying to find a decent one-bedroom rental, and by afford I mean no more than 30% of your income should go toward housing. So by that standard, if you're a minimum wage worker, you'd have to work 111 hours per week in Virginia. You'd have to work 86 hours per week in Texas, 83 in Georgia, 66 in Idaho. Anybody want to guess what New Jersey's number is? More, that's right, 107. You have to work 107 hours per week. You're seeing this play out in New York, and Trenton, and Freehold, and Edison. And so people who say, well, if you can't afford the rent, you just have to work a little bit harder. Well, this isn't a matter of adding 5 or 10 more hours per week, okay? You'd have to add 40, 50, 60 hours per week on top of your full-time schedule. It's not physically possible. We are witnessing a market failure in virtually every corner of this country. Hard work is not allowing people to put a decent roof over their heads. And the other thing is that this is not just a housing problem. It's bigger than that. Having a decent home that you can afford in a good neighborhood determines whether you are going to have opportunity in this country. It determines your chances of achieving the American dream. You all know this. It's not just about an apartment. It's not just about 4 walls and a roof and a door. Housing is life. Housing is life. We know that kids do better in school when their families have access to good, affordable housing. We know that people are healthier. Lower child hospitalizations, lower instances of asthma, lower instances of low birth weights. The U.S., get this stat, the U.S. is going to spend $111 billion over the next 10 years in avoidable healthcare costs because people aren't stably housed. That's an unbelievable number. We know that when people can live in homes they can afford in good neighborhoods, their kids are more likely to go to college and climb up the income ladder, which breaks the cycle of generational poverty. We know that affordable homes can promote integrated communities. 50 years after the anniversary of Dr. King, that's how he called on us to live in diverse communities where people from all walks of life can live together. That means less segregation. It means greater racial equity. When rent eats up your paycheck, you can't buy adequate, nutritious food. You go hungry, or you eat cheap, unhealthy food. Lots of politicians talk about growing the economy. Well, we know that investments in affordable housing are a proven catalyst for job creation and growth. We talk a lot about caring for the veterans. This one's important to me. I'm an Afghanistan veteran myself. There are 2 million, close to 2 million, low-income veterans that are struggling to pay the rent, that are heightened risk of homelessness, and yet we know that people that get housing assistance are less likely to fall into homelessness. We talk about the criminal justice system. Formerly incarcerated individuals that find stable housing are less likely to go back to jail than those who don't find stable housing. I see hands going up. That's right. This is what the Opportunity Starts at Home campaign is all about. It's about making the connections between housing, our issue, and life more broadly. We need more educators in this movement. We need more doctors, more anti-hunger advocates, more veterans advocates. The broader the movement, the better our chances in achieving real policy change. And make no mistake, we need big ideas. I mean, let's be honest. The past couple years, they've been tough. There's been proposals to cut housing pretty significantly. There's been a lot of disparaging remarks about poor people, and it's forced us to be defensive, to make sure that housing cuts don't actually happen, to ensure that we don't lose ground, and that is critically important work. But just like winning a game of football or basketball, you got to play defense, and you got to play offense too. And so this campaign is about big ideas, and you know what? Things are starting to change. We're starting to see big ideas become actual bills. Last week, Senator Kamala Harris introduced one of those big ideas and put it into a bill, renter's tax credit. Homeowners get tax credits. Why not renters? And I think more big ideas are going to follow. The campaign has our own big policy ideas that we're going to issue soon. We need bold solutions because today, 1 out of 4 people that qualify for housing assistance will actually get the help that they need. The thing is, there are solutions at the federal level that we already know work. Vouchers to help people cover the rent. The National Housing Trust Fund to help us finance more units. We know they work, but what's missing is the political will to expand these solutions. And states like New Jersey, cities, they have an important role to play, no doubt about that. But they can't do it on their own. This issue demands federal action. And so that's why you're here. We're building the political will to make this a national movement. And through this campaign, we're bringing together some of the big players in other sectors, and they're going to help us advocate for affordable housing. The NAACP is on board with this campaign, the nation's oldest and most widely recognized civil rights organization. The National Education Association is on board, the largest teachers union in the U.S. Catholic Charities is on board, the Children's Defense Fund, Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, Children's Health Watch, the Food Research and Action Center, Unidos US, more and more I could go on. Together we're going to build this movement, and you all are going to be a key part of that movement. So, I'll end with this. When you're talking to your elected representatives today, tell them that opportunity starts at home. The American dream, a good education, good health, strong economic opportunity, those things cannot be fulfilled if people don't have access to safe, decent, and affordable housing. So folks, let's get to work. I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.